Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special mini episode of the Something's Wrong podcast. My producer, as it turns out, had violent stomach flu, and so was not here to tell me what I was allowed to record. Now, normally the way this podcast works is about a few hours to a day before I record. My producer sends me a title of a movie that I need to watch and sends me a little account information for whatever streaming service it's on. And then I put it onto I hook up my computer to my TV because the small screen hurts my eyes. And then I go and I watch the movie as it's hooked up via some type of magical thing called a USB cord, and it projects what I'm streaming onto my television, and then that's how I watch it. But today is different. My producer is puking and shitting all over the place, and so they could not be here to give me my content fuel. And so instead, we're having a special report on what I hope and what many hope to be the death knell of late night television and of general cable television in general. General cable television and fucking goddamn it. Whatever. Doesn't matter. We're monologuing. This is what we're doing. We're recording a podcast and it's a special report and I'm monologuing. Anyway, those of you who keep up with the news might know that recently there's been some pretty serious shakeups in cable news and cable television in the world of that world, and that would be the ousting of Tucker Carlson, the ousting of Don Lemon, and the end of James Corden's tenure at the Late Show. Now, I didn't really understand which Late Show he was a part of, James Corden, I mean, until I looked up the reason why he was fired, and then I saw in the article that he was on a show called the Late Show, as opposed to the Late Show. I don't know exactly how much later the Late Show is from the Late Show, and I don't suppose it matters because I'm not going to watch it, and I don't think anyone below the age of probably 30 watches it either. Actually, when I've come to think of it, 30 is like people who were born in let me see if my math is correct here, 1993. So fuck me, I don't think they're watching that show either. But once again, not exactly important to modern day culture, but definitely shows a real cry for help from the traditional television studios. Of course, I don't watch a lot of cable news either, but apparently both Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson are both quite popular, or were quite popular in their respective news agencies. Tucker Carlson being for Fox News and Don Lemon being for CNN. And once again, never watched either of them in my entire life, as far as I can tell. From what I know, neither of them were on their respective shows before 2001, when I completely lost my memory of the years before. So I don't really know much about that or about I don't know anything about what they do or what they talk about. But from what I've gathered that Tucker Carlson, he's like if the volunteer umpire at your child's little league baseball game, who has kind of shifty eyes and takes the game a little too seriously. It's like if he became a racist newsman. And then Don Lemon, I used to mistake. I thought that Don Lemon was the full name of the Earl of Lemongrab from Adventure Time, a show that I have watched on occasion, and so I literally I was flabbergasted to discover that Don Lemon was not the full name of the strange, lanky, lemon-headed nobleman known as the Earl of Lemon Grab in Adventure Time. And I was instead surprised to find that he is a very serious, full-grown African American man who talks about the Trump White House, and even though Trump is no longer in the White House anymore. And so that's another thing I was confused about, but I kind of had to gloss over it, and I think you should too, because that doesn't really matter. The point is that he's gone, and Tucker Buckleman is gone, and Tuckleberry Finn. Tuckleberry. They should have. Don Lemon should have called him that on the show. I don't know if they knew each other. I don't know if they ever talked about each other. I thought from what I gather, I thought they were like rivals. Like maybe they'd yell at each other on occasion, but I guess maybe since they're in different studios, they wouldn't allow that. But I think that perhaps now that they're both kind of free agents in the world of politics and news media, maybe now they can have a show where they just scream at they get absolutely fucking in the stratosphere on amphetamines and then argue for 6 hours a day, and then that's the show that they have. And I think that would probably pull in no fewer than 25 bajillion viewers weekly, if my math is correct. I had to carry a couple ones for that one. But I think that would be an amazing next role for them. I think that perhaps James Corden could do the musical number for that, because that's a thing he did, right? Carpool karaoke. Let's see. I pulled up three articles about the fall of these three gentlemen's careers. The ones on Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson are both from the New York Times, a newspaper that I have attempted to read before, but the letters are too small for the most part, and so I was never really able to get into it. And then the third one is from something called The Independent, which I believe is some type of British Times newspaper type of thing. But it also seems to write a bit like BuzzFeed News, and so I don't really know like what level of journalism they're considered to be, but all I know is that they had the most sophisticated logo. They have like a little eagle carrying a newspaper. It's badass. I wish I had a fucking eagle that would bring me the newspaper. I still read the newspaper. It's not the New York Times because the letters are too small. Anyway, that one was titled "The Real Reason James Corden is Leaving the Late Show," and I don't know. I guess he's saying that he left because he wanted to spend more time with his wife and his 3 children. And I didn't really know he had a wife and 3 children because I never really gave James Corden that much thought anyway. I just know that he's a late night funny man who could kind of sing and not really make jokes, and was mostly just kind of loud and ridiculous. I believe I saw him in Cats. I know that. He was there and he played a weird fat cat with a round British man's face. And then he was also in some movie with Keira Knightley and the Incredible Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, and he was in something like that where he played a homeless street musician from England with an English accent, but living in the streets of LA. And yeah, so as far as I know, that's kind of the extent of what James Corden has brought to the table. Apparently, he also used to do sketch comedy back in the early days. I don't know how early his days could be. He doesn't really look that young, but he doesn't look that old either. So I don't really know. I don't know what the fuck his deal is. But anyway, I guess he's old enough to have 3 goddamn kids. Okay, this article is 3 paragraphs long. What the fuck is this? I have so many really beautiful memories of my childhood. He doesn't sound like that. What does he sound like? He sounds more like, I have so many really beautiful memories of my childhood. Usually our holidays would be in a caravan surrounded by concrete. What the fuck does that mean? But one summer we drove down to How do you drive down? I guess, do they have a fucking bridge over the English Channel? Or no, it's like a tunnel. Holy shit. James Corden got to travel in an underground tunnel to France. And everything in that summer... hang on. One summer, we drove down to France in a camper van, listening to Paul Simon's Graceland, and everything about that summer is so big in my mind, in my head. That was why I quit the Late Late Show in the... What the fuck does that mean? Scheduling... Okay, cancel... He looks so sad. He's saying his son looked sad because he couldn't go on holiday. Well, that certainly is just very, very sad. I don't know how much James Corden makes, but you'd think that you'd be able to take some fucking holidays. I guess not. So maybe that is a good reason to quit, but I guess he was also... I don't know. Is in the recommended articles nearby. It's saying James Corden's Late Late Show was losing up to $20 million a year before it ended. Oh man. Apparently he's also a dick to people at restaurants, which is, that's whatever. Who hasn't been a dick to someone at a restaurant? If a waiter spits in my food, I spit right back in his, if you know what I mean. What I mean is that if I know a waiter has spat in my food, I wait a couple days and then I come back and then I enter their break room disguised as a janitor. And then I go ahead and I spit in all the lunches to make sure that at least one of them is the lunch of the waiter that spat in my food or that I suspected of spitting in my food. So that's a little restaurant life hack for you. And it means that you don't get into large public scandals like James Corden when he's screaming at people in a restaurant called the Balthazar, which sounds like some uppity bullshit anyway. Anyway, yeah, I guess yeah, but I don't know. I feel like James Corden's Late Show couldn't have been doing that well. So there are probably a lot of reasons why he could leave, but hey, at least he didn't get fired by like these other two dorks. So Don Lemon was fired probably for many reasons. Most of what I know about Don Lemon has been clips of him having very, very emotionally charged rants on live television. And I feel like that if you're trying to make yourself a very serious central news network, you don't want someone who's flying off the handle all the time, even if it is about things that are technically righteous, equity, equality, the civil rights, things like that. That's awesome. Those are good things to be supportive of. But from what I can see, Don Lemon's also just a fucking insane person. He has a reputation as a fiery political commenter. Don parted ways. Don will forever be a part of the CNN family, but they fired him, and Lemon then he put out Don Lemon put out a statement on Twitter afterwards where he is like, "Oh, they didn't even tell me directly." So a plague on both your houses. I don't know why he quoted Shakespeare in that Twitter post, but that's just kind of, I guess that's his style. But yeah, I remember the 2020 presidential election where Don Lemon was up for like 18 hours straight, just like chugging 5-hour energy and fucking, I don't know, like uppers just to get through the night so he could keep on talking about the same percentage points over and over again for 18 hours. And then towards the end of the night, he went on a bit of a tirade against Trump supporters, which I admit are some pretty unpleasant people for the most part. And he mentioned he talked about them calling him many different slurs, and then he said the slurs on live television, and then the old white dude that he was talking to about it just kind of nodded and was like, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Now it's time to go on to Arkansas, over to Shelley Carver on some shit like that. It's kind of like, ooh, okay, well, Don Lemon just said the N slur and the F slur on CNN, so now I'm going to switch over to Gerald Geraldson over here for talking about how many tenths of a percentage point Arkansas has moved up in. And yeah, so that's what I mostly remember about Don Lemon's news coverage. Apparently he's had some other controversies where he mentioned that women are only in their primes in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, but I don't know exactly what he meant by that, because he was talking about a presidential candidate, a Republican presidential candidate. So it's interesting seeing that type of rudeness come from was otherwise sort of a very basic center left commentator. Normally that's more some fringe shit, as far as I can tell, where you say that a female presidential candidate isn't in her prime, where you just say like, yeah, she's an old bag, she's out of her fucking depth. But he said, quote, a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s. I don't really like, that's such a weird statement. Just thinking about when I think of woman, which I don't do very often, but when I think of woman, like, so like maybe physically you're in your prime in your 20s, perhaps, like if you're trying to run like long distances or like do contact sports, then perhaps being in your 20s is in your prime. 30s, I'm pretty sure the brain's fully developed by 30, so there you go. Prime, and maybe 40s. It's like 40s is out of your prime physically usually, and then but mentally, I don't know. Like what the fuck is the prime for having a fully developed brain? If you have a fully developed brain and you don't have like Alzheimer's or some shit, I don't know. That just probably wasn't. You probably shouldn't have been saying that live. See, that's why I have editors. Well, I have an editor. I have an editor. I have my nephew who cuts all this shit together and makes it work. But I don't. That's why I don't do things live, because when you do things live, you can just all of a sudden say in front of your millions, or I guess I don't know. It's Don Lemon CNN, so probably like 1,000 viewers. Saying that a Republican candidate isn't in her prime. It just wouldn't do that. If I was going to say things like that, I probably wouldn't be doing a live show. And I'm not. So there. Yeah, and he also, I don't know, he also like got into a weird argument with another Republican candidate, and I believe he was talking about like black history and the Second Amendment, which are those are quite contentious subjects to be having, especially on the fucking morning show. He's having this shit on the morning show, like the show where they talk about like people being like rescued by dogs, or dogs being rescued by cats, or the puppy and baby shelter, the new puppy and baby shelter that's opened up, or this old woman just won $2 billion. That's fucking insane. Like it's for that sort of news, not for talking about the overlap between the rather sordid history of America's treatment of black people, and then also the most contentious fucking amendment in our Constitution, the Second fucking Amendment. I believe I saw the clip. And what he said was like, he was talking about like himself, Mr. Lemon himself being a black man and feeling that he has more to say on the subject than whatever ethnicity the other guy was. And it was so fucking bizarre. because it was like the other guy is a Indian American man named Vivek Ramaswamy, and he was a Republican, but he was like whatever. And then Mr. Don Lemon, he said that he said yeah, then whatever ethnicity you are. And then he said, "I'm sorry." He like bellowed, "I'm sorry," into the microphone, while his horrified co-anchor was there. And so that was pretty hilarious. And you know, if it was a one-off thing, I'd say that's probably pretty funny. And if it was a one-off thing that wasn't at the time when people are trying to like spoon feed their toddlers or whatever at 9 a.m. It's probably a better time for that, not on your live morning television show where you should be talking about rescue dogs and heartwarming stories of capitalism in North America. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, dude. I don't know. So hopefully he finds something else. And frankly, I hope that he finds Tucker Carlson and they're able to bond over being removed from their respective networks. Because Tucker Carlson shit, oh my god. He's got some crazy stuff going on here, man. He's got some real crazy stuff. The most recent one. There's roughly like 50,000 articles that show up immediately when you search for Tucker Carlson fired, because I guess they have a whole section on it at the New York Times. They have like the main subheading, Tucker Carlson out at Fox News. They have a link, what led to the dismissal. They have this link, which is the one I'm on, the text that alarmed Fox. And then what's next for Carlson? And then a full-on fucking timeline of Carlson's, I don't know, I guess, career, something like that. Ugh, Jesus. I don't want to read all this shit, but I just know the recent one that they're most mad about is a text that they found where he was talking about he was watching a video of like a fucking like two sets of protesters fighting, except in this case it was a group of like fucking Trump people or Proud Boys or whatever surrounding some Antifa. He calls him an Antifa kid, so I assume it's just some fucking high schooler who they're calling Antifa. And he's talking about a group of Trump guys beating the shit out of this poor kid from Antifa. And his quote was that it's 3 against 1, and that jumping a guy like that is dishonorable, and that it's not how white men fight, which is a fucking bizarre thing to say. And then oddly enough, the rest of this like essay-like text is him talking about like, wow, I felt myself hoping that they'd kill him, that they'd really hurt this kid, and it concludes with him saying that it's like he's feeling like it's making him crazy, like all this politics where he's having trouble separating people from their fucking politics, which is, you know, kind of like an understatement at this point with the way that politics is right now. But holy shit, just like it's very odd because it's both strangely humanizing for him, saying that's like, wow, this isn't good. I'm becoming a monster by just consuming all this shit. But then he's also like, yeah, white men know how to fight better than that. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what's wrong with this guy? Who is this text to? Then off a panic, $1 million, blah, 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 3 against, where, Trump, scribe, text. Who is this text to? That's what I'm really wondering. Who the fuck was he talking to like this? Just like a friend? Message the day before. Oh, Jesus. And they found it like the day before they were set to go on fucking jury trial against the Dominion voting machine company who would go on to fleece them for fucking $800 million because Fox wouldn't shut the fuck up about the goddamn their fucking weird evidenceless election fraud claims. Evidenceless. Yes. Nah, just joking. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that. As far as I'm concerned, it's evidenceless because I haven't read anything about it since like 2 years ago, and even then it was boring enough where I just didn't fucking remember. So if it's, you know, it's just interesting that the Fox lost so much money over it. I guess they really fucked up on that one where they just, let people talk shit about the voting machines being like, I don't know, fucking owned by the Democrats or the Illuminati or aliens or Antifa children or like, I don't know, the LGBT community. I don't know what they personally thought was going on with the Dominion machines, but I know it was a bad lawsuit. And so Tucker Carlson being a freak like he always is kind of bad timing for that. So that's kind of what I'm getting. Is just Tucker Carlson has accumulated a lot of footage of him being a freak over time, and that sort of footage does not help. And that sort of evidence and I guess wording where he's saying that white guys don't jump people as though no one's ever been jumped by a group of white dudes before. Like, isn't that like 90% of European history just white dudes fucking jumping each other? Just like fucking that's the fucking Crusades. Not even the Crusades. That's white dudes going in against Middle Eastern folks and North Africans and I guess white Muslims as well. But still, isn't that like that's like the whole thing, right? That's like all of medieval warfare. So it's like, what the fuck do you mean white guys don't fucking jump people? That's all that war was for a very long time. It was just, ooh, well, we found a force that's smaller than us. Let's fucking smash those bitches. But yeah, saying shit like that, especially when you're already have lost a shitload of money and caused a ton of controversy for one of the largest news media organizations in the world. In the world. Sorry, I had a mild embolism there. But yeah, when you're doing that for one of the largest news organizations in the world, it's not a good thing. Not surprised that they finally. If anything, I'm surprised that they didn't kick him out sooner because he's a weird motherfucker. Like there's rumors that he doesn't even like believe the shit that he says, which I guess makes sense because the shit he says is sometimes just fucking crazy. But like I don't know, dude. He just seems like a weird guy on his own. See, it's from myself. Blah 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 blah. Still really long. He attacked black social justice activists. Immigrants make the country dirtier. Yeah, that's about checks out for Mr. Tucker Carlson. Real problem. Yeah. So usually, I guess at the end of these articles, the New York Times likes to put a little bit of context in where they give a little summary of why this other reasons that this person was bad, even when it's not like necessarily connected to why he was fired. But I guess it kind of they honestly they did the same for Don Lemon too, which I guess that makes sense because Don Lemon doesn't work for them. So as they can also just kind of summarize the bad shit that he's done. But it's like, yeah, they usually tend to end articles like these with the greatest hits of people being shitty, and that's usually the most fun part to read because everything else is just them kind of elaborating on bullshit from the one like primary source that they have. So yeah, that's Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon. What would they call that show? Ooh, and James Corden. James Corden can play like every instrument. He can be like the one man band. Like give him like a drum kit, or no, not even a drum kit. Give him just like a fucking a synthesizer. Give him like a synthesizer and some keyboards, and just have him just remix a fucking intro for the Lemon Carl show, the Tucker and Dawn show, the Dawn of the Tucker show, the Citrus and Sun. How about that? Citrus and Sun, because the lemon is a citrus fruit, and then it's Tucker Carlson has sun in his last name. How about tucking my lemons? How about that? cucking my lemons. And once again, the premise of this show is James Corden makes a little ditty, and then Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon get high on amphetamines and scream at each other for 6 hours. I will, of course, be immediately filing copyright strikes on anyone who decides to pitch that show who isn't me. That is for me to propose to Mr. Lemon and Mr. Carlson and Mr. Corden as soon as they unblock me on all of their social media. One other thing I did want to mention was the passing of who the fuck did I forget the guy's name? Jerry Springer. The passing of the late great Jerry Springer. R.I.P. Jerry. He doesn't quite fit in with all the others because instead of being fired or canceled from his show, he was instead just canceled by old age and by, I believe, cancer, which is really kind of that's just pretty sad. It's hard to really say anything bad about that afterwards. He did his thing. He did his thing. He was the mayor of Cincinnati. That must have been wild. It's kind of weird that he just went into like a show where he just watched people fucking fight. But yeah, I have only respect for Jerry fucking Springer, as he's called in Hollywood, you know, in the Hollywood menagerie. Oh Jesus Christ! Holy shit! This did a little scan of his early life. I guess his parents were German Jewish refugees, and his grandmother was killed in the Holocaust. And so was his grandfather. Oh my god, this is not what I expected at all reading through this. Holy shit. Oh man, yeah, he majored in political science. That makes sense. And then he gets transferred. He managed to transfer from being a politician into being a political reporter. And then he just decided I'm gonna make a fucking show about just political commentary, and it's a talk show. And instead, it just became fucking crazier shit. Yeah. All the respect to Jerry Springer. I actually very briefly was employed on the Jerry Springer show. I personally don't remember it, but my court records proved it. I was one of the guys who would be around backstage, plying guests with alcohol and just continuously refilling their vodka tonics until they were ready to actually go out and, I guess the right word would be perform. So I was that guy. I was basically that there refilling drinks. They of course they didn't let me touch any of the recording equipment yet, but I already had an eye for it. Eventually, at least according to the documents, I was ousted. Ousted, that's a good word. I guess this is also a little bit about my ousting, but I know that I don't know, but the records show that I was ousted for attempting to impersonate a guest. And I still don't quite see exactly what's wrong with that. I mean, the guest, he was a little too intoxicated. I told him he could go ahead and sleep it off and I'd take over. And people were unhappy about it. They were very unhappy about it when they were looking for a man who's 6'4", ready to talk about his issues with his ex-girlfriend or whatever. And then I showed up, and then his ex-girlfriend said, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And then the show just kind of stopped dead. But yeah, that's all in the past. Once again, all the respect for Jerry Springer. R.I.P. to the man. He really doesn't quite fit in with these other three. He never had surprisingly, for someone with such controversial content, he he never had enough controversy to really be fired from anything. He had his own podcast for a while. Gotta love that. Cannot disrespect anyone who has a podcast, especially a man who is able to transition from visual media to audio media like that. Can't. And he had another show after that, Judge Jerry. I believe he's being replaced by Steve Harvey, unless that's also a different show. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to look it up because I don't care. And because Steve Harvey already has a show, he shouldn't be having another show where he gets to be a judge instead of Judge Jerry Springer. The show gave... here's a nice quote from Wikipedia. The show gave him the opportunity to host a more grown-up program and to use his law school education. All right, I don't know. I never watched it. I'm sure it was very, very serious law program. It was canceled after 3 seasons, but hey, that's oh, fuck me. What the fuck was that? That's more seasons than I'd probably get on the Judge Jerry show. And it's definitely more seasons than I had working for Jerry Springer. So, yeah, not much more to say about that other than R.I.P. R.I.P. Jerry Springer, 1944 to 2023. Goddamn. But yeah, that's about really all I had to talk about for this. This is just a little bit of a side episode. Just some stuff I wanted to talk about. I guess I didn't really get into anything important other than why these people were fired, but I don't really give a shit about the cable television. And I hope that this is a sign that it's going to die. And that way I won't have to hear about it anymore, because no one watches that shit. No one was watching the late show. Who the fuck is watching when is it even on? I don't even know. I guess it's just late. It's after it. The context clues here indicate that it's after the late show. But I seem to remember there might have also been a late show. And I am just completely confused about that, and I don't care about that at all. CNN, I don't watch CNN. I also don't watch Fox. Definitely didn't watch Tucker Carlson, even though technically he's probably the more interesting part of Fox, just because you got to watch someone with talking about weird shit and not just like same boring fucking vaguely pro-Republican drivel that they put out all the time. But I don't know. These are two of each of these studios, CNN and Fox. These are their fucking big boys here, and they just took out two of their most popular, most trafficking, maybe not trafficking, traffic producing figures on their shows, and so hopefully that causes them to maybe just take a look internally and maybe start thinking about packing up the circus, about folding the tents and moving on, because god damn it, no one cares. No one cares about cable TV. Or, well, some people do, but no one should care about cable TV. It's dead. It's going to die. It's going to die. And everyone thought Netflix alone was going to kill it, and then a bunch of other streaming services came up. But since every single streaming service, I'm pretty sure Fox has one too. Does Fox have a streaming service now? Does Fox have a streaming service? Fox Now. Yeah, even Fox has a streaming service, even though it's one that I don't think anyone really cares about. Fox Now. It's on the App Store. How to watch Fox networks without cable. What is that? What is Fox Now? Oh my god. Yeah, so they have the same. Geez, they have like the same website style as all the other streaming services, where it's just like clean, crisp, dull colors that are shiny and kind of metallic. They all have like a little bit of shadowing to them. Like they have some shadowy shades. They have a little bit of saturation, and yeah. No. Not watching it. That's too bad. But yeah, everyone has a streaming service now. There will eventually be no point to that, and then finally everyone will eventually. I hope that people get completely sick of visual media entirely and instead only listen to podcasts, and then they listen to podcasts while looking at the real world outside and becoming free thinkers. Because if you're out there looking at the world and paying attention and listening to someone who really knows what they're talking about, then I think that's what's going to make this, that's what's going to fix this country. That's what's going to bring this country together. Well, that's about as much as I have the energy to say right now. There will be more episodes coming out soon. This one's just a little bit of a diversion, something I wanted to talk about since three major figures of cable news, not even cable. James Corden is not a fucking newscaster. He's just some weird British dude. But yeah, three major figures in cable television. Like technically four, but Jerry Springer wasn't quite the same. He was not forced out because he wasn't making money. Like the man could make a show, you know. He could make a goddamn show. He had to be taken out through other means, through natural causes. Oh, what the fuck? Who the fuck is calling me? Leave me alone. Whatever. Anyway, this has been a special episode of the Something's Wrong podcast. Oh, Jesus Christ. Shut the fuck up. What the fuck does that even mean? Shut up. Can you even hear that? Probably not. It doesn't seem to be showing up on the audio file. But yeah, that's about it for this special commentary, off the wall, off the cuff, doing your mom type of wacky, crazy shenanigan episode of the Something's Wrong podcast. I'll be having more regular episodes coming too, once I feel like watching movies again, and maybe there'll be more to it. Maybe we'll have more stuff like this. I don't know. We'll see what gets the juices flowing, what gets the people going, what gets the kids listening and watching. I guess I don't know what they'd be watching. I guess maybe just like the thumbnail for the podcast, they'd be watching that. But kids don't pay attention to anything right now anyway, so maybe they'll just listen to me talk. But yeah, the more content coming soon. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to y'all later. Praise be. Why the fuck did I say that? Who the fuck says praise be? What the fuck is wrong?